Hello, my name is Stacy Peterson, and if you have employees of any kind, whether you own a company or you manage some of the employees that you kind of care for and so forth, you may have heard about the great resignation that is coming. And I've read about it so much this week that I stopped and decided I just wanted to make this video because I have a little bit of an interesting perspective on this that may not be what you hear other places. Now, I am not a retention expert at all. I'm a funny motivational speaker. I speak more in the wellness space for corporations when it comes to stress management and burnout and those types of things. And my story of almost dying a bunch. So when I'm reading this, I'm like, I don't see anyone acknowledging the human element of the employees. So if this has been a concern, this is just my opinion, but it may be something that you really want to consider. So what I've been reading is things like employees don't want to go back to work. They don't want to go back to the grindstone. And people are like, why would you leave a good job? You think of negative connotations like you're lazy, you're this, you're that. Why wouldn't they come? What's wrong with people? And the word back is what I want to camp out on for a second. The truth is that your employees have been through so much in the last year and a half. They have been through so much change, and you have no idea really to the fullest of what they've been through personally, let alone the stress of work and adapting to whatever your company has been doing. There are things like people who have gotten COVID and are still struggling with their health. There are, relationships where that fell apart once you were around each other 24/7. I think of the mass exodus of the moms who were not able to care for their kids and do full-time working. And the statistics are pretty shocking. Then there was a whole change of life, a loss of sense of security, a loss of safety, a loss of control. And all of that was so much change, too much change, in my opinion, for most people to be able to handle. They could have had a significant other lose a job and lose their home. You may not know where all of your employees are at. So the very first thing that I want you to think about is that your employees are human beings, and just to kind of even envision their faces that you know of. And the reality is, how well do you know what they've been through in this last year and a half? Because here's what I feel is the truth, is that none of us are the same people we were in 2019. So when you use the word, we're going back to the office, we're going back to the way things were, people instantly kind of balk. It makes my hands go up like this because I don't want to go back, and neither do your employees. And what I mean by that is we don't want to go back to 2019 because it instills stress and fear because we don't want to go through 2020 again. And we're just different people. We've learned a lot. We've been through a lot. Our life has been adjusted. Maybe there are relationships now that we've been with our kids all the time that we don't want to go back to the way things were. And that word back to me is a huge emotional trigger. I would like to see people change it, and for you to consider the possibility of, rather than, hey, we're going to go back to the office, back to the cubicles, back to the way things were, we're going to manage, we're going to go back to everything like it was, to really reframe that to your people to say, because we all want to move ahead. We're all going to move ahead. So let's get together, and now we're going to move forward. And the goal for you, if you have employees, is that you're going to have to be so open-minded about adapting to who they are now as individuals and employees, not who they were in 2019 and how the business worked in 2019. Because you can't do what you need to do without your workers. So putting that investment into them and being open to adapting to change, and what that looks like for them with flexibility or their workspace environment, those kinds of things, it's kind of on you. And that's really hard. I'm going to acknowledge that that's hard. But stop thinking about going back. Start thinking about how can we as a company, and how can my employees, like how can I make space for my employees and their new way of living that embraces them. And there'll be bumps in the road, just like there was when we all shut down. There was a lot of bumps in the road those first few months. It's going to be that same kind of a thing. But if your employees feel like you're supporting them, if they feel like you care, it's huge. It's huge. So you're like, well, how do I do that? How do I create space? Well, you could hire me to give them a little pep talk, but I'm going to tell you something that's just really simple. It's so simple. Acknowledge it. Just bring it out in the open. Their hesitation of not wanting to go back. Bring it out and say, we are open to ideas, trying things out, maybe creating a culture that embraces failure so that we can try different things and go, nope, that didn't work, until we find a rhythm and a new space in the way that we work. Not like literal space, but just emotional space, mental space, well-being space, family, embracing family space, those kinds of things. It's going to be a little bit of a stumbling block as when you first come back, but just saying that, just acknowledging what they've been through, how hard it's been, that they don't want to go back, that you want to help create a culture where they can move forward and be who they are now, because they're not the same. So, and I will, when I saw the statistics of it was like 40%, and I thought, oh, well, that's probably all your introverts, because I am like so introverted. It causes me tremendous anxiety. And when I think about going back to living in an extroverted world with people in office and all of those things. And in fact, I have a video on it. I'll tag a video at the end of this, but you can check it out. But there's just a lot of change. Acknowledge that they're human. Be open to the possibilities of not going backwards, but looking ahead, of moving forward to create space and opportunity for who your people are now. Even though they may be the same, all your employees are the same, they're not the same. Thanks.